Telling people to learn is one thing, but inspiring them with curiosity is powerful. Is powerful. So it's when parents have a conversation like, I wonder why that happens. And being a former engineer, I mean, when I was 7, I was taking apart toasters, and much to the chagrin of my mother, a vacuum cleaner in the house, because I didn't have the capability to always put it back the way I found it. And if I put it back, there'd be all these parts left over. I didn't know where they went. And so in my upbringing, I broke a few things by trying to understand how they worked. But it is that curiosity. I mean, I had a high school physics teacher who, to this day, I think of, and I just owe him so much. He selected 6 of us in our junior year who were taking physics and asked us if we wanted to do a second-year physics. Now, most people would say, oh, and this is 1962, and we said, oh, wow, we were really nerds. So before the summer, he said, okay, this is what's going to happen with the 6 of us, the 6 of you and me. I am not going to use a textbook, but here are the 12 experiments that changed the face of physics over history. Galileo, Archimedes, Newton, a number of experiments from each one. He said, what we're going to do next year is do each one of these experiments from scratch. We're going to redo them. Now, to do that, I need to buy a little bit of equipment, but the school system told me I have this budget and I can do it. But we don't have a space for a lab because all the labs are taken up by the regular courses. He said, but identify a room in the basement. So we agreed to come in over the summer and help clean up the room, kind of sand it down, repaint it, put up the screen walls, all this kind of stuff. And then as he got the stuff delivered, it was in there, it was secure. And that was our lab. So we'd go down to the basement, 3 times a week and run our experiments. And when we were doing the experiments, we knew the correct answers that Sir Isaac Newton came up with or Galileo came up with. But we were doing them all fresh. And he always, I remember one time we spent 2 weeks doing this one thing where we came up with the capital G, the gravitational constant, and about 4th decimal place into it, our number was different than in the textbooks. And I remember us reporting out the result of our study to him. And normally somebody would say, okay, what'd you do wrong? Or go back and check it. He didn't. He said, wow. He said, I've always said sometimes naive observers in science can come up with a major breakthrough. You might be onto something here. And we all went, ah. And he said, this is in New York, he said, look, I know some people in physics at Columbia and at Brookhaven National Labs. He said, would you be interested in presenting your findings to them? These are real physicists. We said, would we? Oh my God. This is like, and he said, okay, I'll tell you what, over the next 2 weeks, I'll call him and I'll try to set up some meetings. He said, but you have to do something. He said, remember how we talked about last year and the year before, in the natural sciences, scientists value replication. So while I'm setting up these meetings, what I want you to do is I want you to redo the study and then present your results from both of your studies. Does that sound reasonable? We said, yeah, we understand that. Well, 2 weeks later, he hadn't made the calls. He didn't tell us that because we finished the second experiment and we reported back to him that the textbook was right. Yeah. That we'd made a mistake in the first study. But what happened is, for 2 weeks, and this is high school, we're seniors in high school, and you couldn't keep us out of this basement. I mean, for 2 weeks, we were absolutely on the edge of our seat. Were we about to make a breakthrough? Now, part of that's naivete and part of it's arrogance. But what it did was, he aroused a sense of curiosity and allowed us the possible. It was possible. We could make a difference.